Well, as many know, in Central Florida, the General Kirby-Smith Confederate statue is coming to Tavares in the Historical Museum fairly soon, and I know it's quite controversial, but I want to preface this video with a couple of facts about Kirby-Smith, and if you want to look up some historical facts about connections of Lake County, Florida to the Confederacy, Lake County, Florida, and it does have a lot of connections to the Confederacy. This is the statue, this is the museum where the statue is going to be preside. And I just want to point out some of the website here. This is from the Sons of Confederate Veterans. It's a private William Riley Milton Camp, 741 in Tavares, Florida. There are a number of links on this page where you can show, we can prove that, or there's historical facts that there's a lot of Confederate history in Lake County, Florida, also Marion County, Florida. If you look back down to the Remembrance book, Honoring Confederate Ancestors, you can see there's a number of ancestors that are listed and their stories and their history. And you can look at other pages that we have listing. So there's a lot of history actually in Lake County. So some people were arguing why the statues coming to Lake County. They're not aware of the Confederate roots of Lake County. So we also have the Confederate cemeteries, the pension application file numbers. You can get this all from the web page, which is scvcamp741.tripod.com. There's also some PDFs that are uploaded there. I've revamped this website a little bit, put some more information, fixed some links. Did not build the website, but there's a lot of different articles that you can read about why Confederate principles and values are important today. There's also videos from YouTube about the activities of the SCV, and you can look at any of these types of documents here. Truth Concerning Captain Henry Wirtz and Anderson POW Camp. That's another issue that's in Georgia. I'll be up there November 10th this year filming that. And these are some of the videos that are, you know, of Confederate history and things that take place in Florida. So I also want to point out, though, that Kirby-Smith was fairly unique because actually he was very unique in this way. He actually was on the side of the US Cavalry initially in the war, and then when Florida seceded in 1861, he joined the Confederacy because that's where his state is, and really has nothing to do with any kind of issues that are going on today that they say the Confederacy was about. Kirby-Smith actually was part of the Union forces, or the U.S. forces, and then he went to the Confederacy when Florida seceded from the Union. Florida was only a state for about 15 years, so they were only, in the Union for about 15 years. They were independent before that. So surrender wasn't in Kirby-Smith's vocabulary. He is the only officer to both refuse to surrender to Confederates while serving as a Union officer and refuse to surrender to the Union while serving as a Confederate officer. As a major, Edmund Kirby-Smith refused to surrender to the 2nd U.S. Cavalry at Camp Colorado, Texas, to secessionist force at the start of the war. So he's actually fighting the secessionists at the beginning. It wasn't until his home state, Florida, seceded in 1861 that Smith resigned to join the Confederacy. Florida was only joined the Union in 1845, so it was only not part of the Union a long time. In 1863, William Smith took command of the Trans-Mississippi Department with the capture of Vicksburg and Port Hudson by U.S. forces, and the Confederacy was split in two. Smith became, in effect, governor of the Western Confederacy. Despite lacking manpower and supplies, he successfully defended Kirby-Smithdom, that's what they called it, from 7 Union attacks. The surrender of the Confederate forces under Robert E. Lee and Joseph Johnston in the spring of 1865 didn't impact Smith's action. So, in other words, Robert E. Lee surrendered at Appomattox. Smith was not going to surrender. He continued to resist with a small army in Texas. Smith insisted that Lee and Johnson were prisoners of war and decried Confederate deserters that were leaving the camp. So basically, he held on right to the end, and it was not any kind of out of any kind of principles of what they're talking about today. You know, slavery. It had nothing to do with his actions. It had strictly to do with his state joined the Confederacy, so he fought with the Confederacy. That was it. So, but there is a lot of Confederate heritage in Lake County. A great deal of it. There's a lot of people have roots here that go all the way back to the 1860s and before prior. So it is fitting to have the statue in this museum, and it's going to be now an internationally recognized museum. So I'm just going to put the commander's comments after this, and you can take a look at what he has to say. But I wanted to preface what he had to say with this, just to give you a background, and also where you can look up some information. And that would be at the website for the camp, the SCV Camp 741 website on tripod.com. And you can see there's a lot of links there that show where the cemeteries are, the historical facts about the Confederates that fought, that are from Lake County, and various information about what the Confederacy really stood for, because the big money has been bullying the big money out of New York especially has been bullying the Confederate cause. If there's no money in the Confederacy, there's no these people that are taken up for the honor of their ancestors. They don't have big bucks. They're not Michael Bloomberg and or whoever. And so, you know, it's we're the little guys. We're the little guys. We're not the big guys. We're not picking on anybody. Actually, we are being picked on. Okay, so take a look at the commander's comments coming up.
Forgive me for my interruption. I'd like to say on behalf of Judy and Sandy, talk about the UDC. Well, here in Camp 741, which is chartered here at Tavares, but we meet in Lee Lake, close by. Because of these two ladies, in 2013, Camp 741 made a direct decision to allow the ladies to come in our camp as Legionnaire members. And it's been one of the biggest and brightest moments for Camp 741 and for the SCV. So I'd like to help, again, give a pat on the back to Judy and Sandy for everything they've done. They are our backbone in the SCV. Thank you.
Without the UDC, you got to think as soon as the war, before the war was even over, these mothers, these wives, these daughters, these sweethearts were starting to collect all of this stuff that these soldiers went through, that their loved ones went through. First began the Ladies' Memorial Associations, which turned into the UDC. Without the UDC, I doubt if there would ever have been a UCV, because the men were organized by the women and pushed to do it by the women. We know that. I'm a guy. I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for my wife. I'd be stuck somewhere around right now. What the UDC means to the sons, there is no way to describe it. Because without the UDC, there would have not been a UCV, and there definitely would not have been an SC. So thank y'all. We cannot thank y'all enough.
Thank you.
I told you I was going to be brief with you. The only thing I can say is remember, folks, this is our heritage.
Yes.
This is what we're all about. Protect it, preserve it, keep it going for future generations. The same way with Bobby in this museum. Future generations will be able to come to this museum. They will be able to see all the realities, but especially they will be able to see General Edmund Kirby-Smith and find out what the real truth, the real history is, because it will be preserved forever. And that's what we need. I'm going to invite the rest of y'all to a tour of the museums and socialize with each other. And that's basically, like I said, it was all going to be a short program tonight. But I appreciate everybody coming out. Thank you very much. Yes, welcome.
Before we disperse and go online, I'd like somebody to pass the hat. You know, Jason also, some of his travel expenses and all that.
If you give me any money, I'm gonna give it to the museum.
Okay.
Because if you're gonna make a donation to the museum. I'm here because y'all are doing fantastic.
Well, it costs you a lot of money while I was coming.
What's that?
So it costs you a lot of money while I was coming.
And I'm happy to come here. That's all right.
Commander of Judah B. Benjamin camp. I'm sorry I cannot remember the number right now. But anyway, based out of Tampa. And David is also a great supporter of ours. And wanted to he can say a few words. And he also has something that he would like to take care of. So I'll let you have the floor, sir. Thank you.
That's right. Thank you, Darrell. In addition to being a camp commander, I'm the Heritage Operations Chairman for the state of Florida, and for the SCV, I should say, for the Florida Division. And the Florida Division would like to present to Bob Grenier a certificate of appreciation signed by Kelly Crocker here at our reunion this last June. So thank you, Bob, for all you've done. Not just for American history and the state.
General, where are you?
Get Jason in here, please. Jason,
Yeah, we need to get the commander in here. Everybody, come on. Leave one person out there to take a picture.
everybody get credit.
Let's tighten up.
Put you in the middle. Okay, great. Thank you, Bob.
The next individual that I would like to have come up, would like to say a few words, would be our guest of honor this evening, which is the Army of Tennessee Commander, Mr. Jason Beauchars, and he is also known as hat in the ring, and will be, I hope that is, the next Lieutenant Commander out of National Headquarters. And we'll be running in 2020. And I'm going to turn the floor over for a moment or two, Mr. Jason, and let you speak, tell these people about you, or whatever you want to talk about.
Thank you, Mr. Rattery. How's everybody doing? Well in Dixie. Where at I watched you come a little bit. I just want to say it really is an honor to be here, and from what I'm seeing and what Bob has just graciously shown me and told me everything that's going to be happening, you're going to go from a very local museum to an international museum. What will be coming here with the Kirby-Smith statue is a monster deal. It is huge. Sons of Confederate Veterans, we have camps in Brazil, we have camps in England, Ireland, we have them all over. And this is going to get out everywhere. And there will be interest in this everywhere. I would love to come back and see this when you get it. And I would love to be here for that. I'm sure you'll have some kind of beautiful ribbon cutting and a host ceremony, and you should. What you have here with this courthouse, this is where I grew up. I grew up in a little town called Mount Pleasant. Our closest town was 20 miles north in Columbia. That's had a courthouse. And the courthouse was like you see here, one of these beautiful old 1800s, early 1900s building, to have all of this class and style and design that's missing nowadays. They build these buildings and they try to make them look like something and look like nothing. It's like cars from the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, and the cars that are out there now. Right. there's this whole lack of design is flowing in people's minds and is present here, and it is present in what you're doing. What you showed me that you were doing in there is a beautiful grand scheme and a beautiful grand thought. And I want to thank you for what you're doing. You're doing all of us a big service. Thank you. Every time I come to Florida, and I've been here several times now, I've always had a wonderful time. Everybody here has always been kind. Everybody has always been gracious. Oh my goodness, we're at my son.